Tucked between crisscrossing country roads and sprawling fields lies Lenhardt Airpark. This privately owned, public-use airstrip is home to everything from early military style to home-built aircraft. Within the grounds of this humble airstrip, a strong sense of community can be found around every corner. In looking closer at the history of Lenhardt Airpark, a striking story of success emerges. And as far as the American dream goes, the tale of Jack Lenhardt and his family business is one for the ages.
He did what he wanted to do and enjoyed his whole life, flying.
Whenever Dad would say, "Get your coat, we're going out to dinner," we never knew if it was going to be hopping in a car or hopping in a plane.
He had me flying the airplane, and I had my hands on the control wheel, and he said, "Glenn, bring your nose up." So I put my finger in my nose and I pushed up. And he looked over at me and saw what I was doing, and he started laughing. And then he went ahead and showed me what he meant by that. That's the one thing that stands out quite a bit.
Working with Jack was a experience all in itself. You never knew what he was going to come home with. One of the gals that was the secretary out here, every time she'd come to work, she'd look in the checkbook to see if there was a check missing. And if there was, we'd always wonder what he was coming home with.
He himself said that he felt like the luckiest man in the whole world because he loved to fly from the time he was 5 or 6 years old. That's exactly what he wanted to do, and he made it his life profession.
Jack grew up on a dairy farm east of Hubbard and discovered his passion for aviation by witnessing the stunts of a local legend that flew over the area. And during the pursuit of his dreams, Jack met Elaine and married his two loves in a most fitting way.
We met roller skating in Woodburn 60 years ago next month. We just hit it off right away. It happened to be my birthday when I met him at 16 years old. And we went together only for about 9 months and got married. Can you imagine that? They said it would never last. All the family at 16 and 18 years old. My husband, who had been flying and helping out a friend who was just getting started crop dusting around the area, and the man that he was flying for decided that he didn't really want to do this after all, and he was moving out of the country. And my husband bought the airplane and the business all in the same day, and we got married in the afternoon. He took me for my first airplane ride, and I didn't really realize that this was going to be his life profession, and didn't think there was anything at all to worry about. He was very good at what he did and confident, and so that's the way that it started.
As Lenhardt Airpark transitioned, Jack worked to expand the hangars and services on site. But dreams as they be have a way of coming back around. And for Jack, his dream flew in the form of an FM-2 Wildcat that inspired him as a kid years ago.
I was roughly 15 when he started restoring, it was a World War II Wildcat. My dad grew up on a farm just right here next to the airport, and back in World War II, Mary and Carl flew a Wildcat in the Marines, I believe it was. And so whenever he would be coming by, my dad, as a young man, really young, would see him, swoop down in the field and pull up high and do some aerobatics and come back and do it again. And that was the inspiration for the Wildcat that he built. Matter of fact, he built it in the same colors as what Mary and Carl's aircraft was.
After the construction of the Wildcat was completed, Jack took to the sky with his novel creation and made his way to a few air shows around the country, until one fateful day when Jack's longtime friend, Bill Compton, nearly lost his life as they flew home.
Jack and him were coming back from an air show, but he did crash it. Fuel starvation, he rolled it up in a ball. It almost killed him. So at that point in time, I think Jack decided that the airplane was worth so much money, his Wildcat, that he tried to sell it at that point in time instead of flying it much more. He ended up trading it to the Naval Air Museum at Pensacola, Florida. And then he asked the Pensacola people what else they wanted. And they said, well, we're getting a lot of folks through the museum from the Korea and Vietnam War era. And that was a helicopter. Both of those were really helicopter wars. And we need old helicopters. So that's That's how basically Jack got started in the restoration business. I mean, after, you do these things and you think, this thing's going to be on display for 100 years. It's going to be seen by God knows how many people. How many people get to do this? And we did, all total, probably 24, 25 aircraft for museums, and they're all over the place. How many people get to do that?
Throughout the years, Jack and Jim restored a variety of helicopters, but one of the most notable aircraft restored caught the ear of a larger audience and culminated in an event that would impact and ripple on in the minds of those who were there to witness it.
There were some World War II gliders that he restored here. And what he ended up doing was there was a group of people that actually flew the gliders in World War II that got together once a year. And so they came out and had one of their get-togethers here with the glider they had restored.
When we presented the gliders, there was like 600 people on the field, including the pilots and their wives. When we opened the doors and pulled the fuselages out, these guys, we saw tears in their eyes. We had pilots out here that flew 3 and 4 missions with these things. And it was a death sentence, basically. And the small arms fire, even from a .45 pistol, would go through the fabric and hit these guys. A lot of them died. A lot of them died. But it was very emotional for us, plus the pilots. Passion out here when the pilots of those gliders were here. That's something I'll never forget. Never forget.
As the world and industry changed over the years, rural airstrips had to adapt and evolve into something more. As the crop dusting trade began to taper off, airports like Lenhardt's began to develop into tight-knit communities, attracting pilots and craftsmen whose passion for aviation remains vibrant now more than ever.
It's a very good feeling, feeling like my husband and myself, our job was well done, seeing my children running the airport today.
But his main thing was he wanted to have an airport where people could come and have fun. There's places around where you have corporate jets and business flying, but he wanted to have an airport that had a laid-back atmosphere where people could fly old airplanes if they wanted to. They didn't have to be real super expensive. They could just be something fun to fly, and the fun flying is what he tried to promote. And so those are the kind of people that he invited to come here. Just basic fun flying. Here in the Willamette Valley, we're one of the very few places that people can actually use the grass runway. It's kind of a novelty anymore. A lot of instructors from other airports like to come over and bring students in here and use our grass runway for practice.
And you can go wherever you want to go. And some days you might just want to look out over the countryside. And other days you might think, I want to attempt to land at a new airport that I'm not familiar with, just for the challenge of it.
This airport's a bit of an enigma because it's privately owned but public use. People come by and they go, wow, where's this been? Everybody that's on the airport is here for the same reason. We love aviation. It's about having fun, about doing it safely, and it's just a great group of people to be around. And that's kind of a dying thing in this day and age. And to find an airport like this is just fantastic. You know, when you fly in the morning or in the evening, the sun sets and sun rises. There's things that I've seen that you can't describe it.